Hello, welcome to Flory Models. I'm Flory. Sorry there was no news show last week. Explain a few things that happened. Basically, some of you might have noticed that the lip sync was out. We had a trouble with the sound. There was like half a second delay. The trouble with that was it really caused a bit of a problem because obviously when you're doing sanding and airbrushing or just general touching things on the desk, the sound doesn't line up and drives you mad. Obviously what happened was I'm telling the host company who host all our videos, they're saying it's not them. I'm looking at the videos before we send them up and it's not me. So somewhere in between there was a problem with the coding. Anyway, it took on many phone calls and a lot of sorting out, and eventually sort of 4 days later we got it fixed. By that point we already put up 6 new videos, so they had to be recoded and everything else. And as everybody knows, my internet connection is utter pants down here in Devon. So consequently, a 600 meg file, and that's what a 300 one in HD is going up there for the video builds, obviously takes about 3 hours. So when you're doing it, it was a real nightmare back and forth. So we're working on that. So real sorry for that. Anyway, we're back in force really this week. We've got 2 great builds on the go at the moment. First of all, we've got part 1 of a Canberra build. Now this one is for FX magazine, so obviously won't be on the main site and everything else. But really what we're doing here, we've gone through the Canberra, and really it's all about the weathering, how to do it, because it's quite a basic kit to go together, but I hope we showed a few techniques of how to do it. So that's up there at the moment. That's part 1, is up on the site now. Okay, now the next thing we've got up is a tank. Now as you know, I don't do armour particularly well, so we've been flapping around with wheels and the various things like it. As I said, you know, there's a reason I do aircraft. They don't have many wheels, and tanks have lots, and I hate painting wheels. But anyways, a few tips about that, but that's in a little bit later on. The other big thing that we've got to speak about now is a shameless plug, but it's something I've really been working on a long time now. You might remember a few months ago, say a few months, last year now, it was, gosh, time flying, but we did a range of sanding sticks, very thin ones. Now these weren't ours, we used to buy these in from, to be honest, a company in Canada, and they used to supply us with little, very thin sanding sticks. Now these sold like hotcakes. I had real trouble keeping up with them. But anyway, we had trouble with supply, they couldn't supply us and everything else, and we were letting people down, so we stopped basically doing them. But that idea was always in my head. I always wanted to carry it through. So anyway, really after many phone calls and trying to sort everything out, I finally found a UK manufacturer who knew what I was on about. When I said, can we have some thin sanding sticks, all of, you know, 5mm thick, didn't look at me like I'm stupid, because what most of them do, unfortunately, is they buy them in from overseas and they buy it in a finished product and just reselling it. We managed to find a manufacturer. Now, to be honest, when we showed him the old ones, they were offcuts, okay, and we didn't know that at the time, but all they were is offcuts, that they have hundreds, and they said, we've got bins full, they go in the skip, they're no good to anyone. Trouble with them is that, you know, sometimes they're a funny shape, sometimes they don't stick to the backing very well, and all the rest of it. So anyway, we spoke to them, and eventually they got what I was on about, so we went up and saw them and sat down with their design team and everything else, and we've designed a range. Now these here aren't offcuts, these are actually proper made, very thin, 4mm, so they're a lot thinner than the old ones we used to do, sanding sticks. Now these obviously we come in fine, and with the fine they are 320 by 240 grit, so they're dual-sided as well. There's 12 in a pack. Okay, that's the fine ones. We also do a coarse one, and the coarse one are 100 by 120s, and then we do a medium one. Okay, now the medium one is something like I think it's a 180 by 200 grit, something like that. But they're 12 in a pack, they're $4.95, and I'm really happy with them. Now at the same time, I'm saying to them, like, you know, could you do this, could you do that, like you do? And they're like looking at me like I'm pretty stupid, like what do you want them for? But anyway, after again sitting down and explaining, we got them to do these. Now these are custom made just for us. These are 4mm sanding sponges. Now these are great for getting inside intakes, things like normally you can't get a standing stick to do. And when you try and cut them down, they fall apart anyway. So these are hole in. The other great thing with these thin ones is if you're going to sand down like wing roots, things like that, and inside small areas, you get a lot of collateral damage if you're using a big one. You tend to over sand an area, so these little thin ones are great for getting in tiny little areas, and there again you can cut these down even finer if you wanted to, but these literally are flexible just like a sanding sponge, so you can do curves with them, whereas obviously with the files you're limited, you're going to get flat spots. But these again are tiny, but they're absolutely fantastically made. Very happy, very proud of them. and everything else. So we call this range the skinny range, okay? So we do skinny sticks and we do skinny sponges, okay? Corny as hell, but I think it's something. All right, so we do those as well. So to be honest, what we've done is we've done a bit of a starting thing for this, where normally they're $4.95 for a pack of 12, okay? If you buy the whole range of the skinny range, which is all 4 sets, you basically get one free. So it's £15 for the entire set. As I say, I'm really happy with them. Now, at the same time, whilst we were in there, obviously, you know, this company, they deal with things like automotive and aviation stuff, as well as obviously like nail files and all the rest of it. Now, the trouble with a nail file is, and many companies will sell you a nail file for hobbying, is they tend to be really, really aggressive and scratchy. So I'm there saying to them, can we have, and it's great because these are in the same grits the skinny ones are, is proper sanding sticks. Now, these are cushioned as well, so they're very nice, but they're a nice thin grade, so they're not going to carve your model apart when you're sanding in it. Yes, there is a couple of coarse grades in there, but the fine ones are absolutely fantastic. So that's really nice. The other thing as well done, we've got our own sponges been made now. So these are basically a thicker version of the thin ones, okay? And this is going to come in this triple pack. So you get the Miracle Polisher, which is, to be honest, is basically the same as our old one, okay? And you get 2 sanding sponges in there for £3.50. So that's really, you know, a nice little touch with those. But I'm really happy that I've managed to find a manufacturer who understands when I go in and say it's for modelling, and they all don't think I'm like some type of anorak or madman, okay? So anyway, been great working with this company and seeing how other companies develop products. So I've been babysitting this one for, you know, over a month now, since initially trying to get the idea that they picked up on and moving through. So really happy with that one and getting it together. The other big news we have to talk about is, now, many years ago, 3 years ago, a certain time ago, but yeah, 3 years ago, I spent the day with 27 Squadron at RAF Odium. Now, you've probably seen the photos. If you haven't and you remember, pop along to the Chinook area. There's a Chinook build in there. There is, I think it's 300 photos of walk around of a Chinook, head to tail, weapons, the lot, absolutely everything on that Chinook, as well as Larry himself as well, who's my sort of mate who's in there. He is a loadmaster, and he's the one who took me around the day. He took a load of photos out in Afghanistan as well that shows the Chinook in theatre, in weathered and everything else, and all the armaments and things that go with it. Anyway, long story short, spent the day and had a fantastic day. Now, Larry had a brilliant idea the other week that said to me about would some of the members like to come along. And he said perhaps we could turn it into a charity event and everything else. So a bit of brainstorming all round. What we've actually agreed to is we've got 20 members, or maybe I'd stretch it to a few more, perhaps 25, something like that. Will pay £20, okay? Now the £20 will go to the Squadron's charity. Now their Squadron's charity is basically one that helps out the crews and everything who are in Afghanistan, who perhaps need an air conditioning just for personal use, who might need a kettle, clothes, whatever, okay? It's to support the troops who are actually in field, okay? So this isn't a charity where it just goes off somewhere and never see it again. This is going to go to the unit, okay? Now, for that £20, what you're going to have to do is get yourself to RAF Odium on the 12th of August, okay? Now, obviously, many of us are going to come from various areas all over, so we might be able to pick up, you know, go along. Obviously, I'm coming down from Devon, so if perhaps you're along the M4 corridor, I can pick you up en route and things like that. And perhaps some of the other members can help out. But certainly, what will happen is we'll get there at 9:30. We'll get obviously all security signed in, everything else, get on the base, and then obviously what's going to happen is I think the Squadron CEO is going to give us a chat about what the Squadron does, and certainly, you know, obviously their operationals, things like that. And then we're going to get all access areas all around the base to be guests of the base, okay? So that is going to be things like obviously getting a full walk around, a talk, you can ask any questions, direct to the people in the know. Larry, which is Guzzler, who is a loadmaster with 20 Squadron, he's the guy who's arranged all this. This is his brainchild, okay? Obviously, he'll be there as well, can answer any questions and things like that. And then obviously what happened is, I think it's £3.75, we have lunch in the officers' mess and things like that, and then in the afternoon we can then go out onto the actual flight line and we can see the actual operationals of the show. Now this isn't an air show, this is actually a working military base, so certainly obviously things are, you know, can be changed and things like that, but certainly we're hoping to be able to get over to the actual loading area where the actual crews practice picking up the ocean going containers, tanks, artillery and everything else, and we can get up nice and personal with the Chinook looks and see them in their business. But certainly there'll be an opportunity to do almost anything you like on the base. Obviously it's all, you know, up in the air and can change any last minute, but certainly we have now been invited, that we have been guaranteed the little spot for us to be there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to post it up on the forum all about it, some of the ideas, and I'll put up some of my photos from last time when I was up there, and then obviously then you can then put in your interest. Now obviously we're going to have to ask for sort of money up front to go for this and everything else. Obviously 100% all goes to the squadron, as I said before, and there will be, you can go in their own gift shop as well and things like that. Or if you want to donate even more, please feel free to. But I say it's one of those once in a lifetime opportunities, this, to really get up and personal and get behind the scenes of how a squadron actually works, and to get on a base on a working day when they're just going about their own business. So it's a really special that we've been invited, and we must thank Larry, Lawrence Clark so much for arranging this, and obviously all the people at 27 Squadron who've actually okayed to have a bunch of us not all turn up on the base and ruin their day. So it's a real special and a real honour that we've been invited to do this. So as I say, I'm going to post it up in the forum. You can go along there, have a look and everything else. Now, because we're a little bit wayward on a lot of stuff, as I say, I'm going to run a clip now. This is all about how I painted all these hundreds of wheels, which really drove me nuts and everything else to follow the show. Okay, so I'm going to show you the way I do the wheels. Okay, now painting wheels has always been notoriously a real pain in the butt, purely because obviously it's very easy to go over and trying to keep a line and everything else. So the way I do it, and this is just personal, these ones are quite tricky because you've got little tiny hubs that have to go on and things like that, and there's not much of a detailed line around them, okay? So what we do, we put a bit of blue tack or white tack or dough in the middle, just like this, okay? We pierce through. Okay, so we get, it's on a cocktail stick like this, and what this will do is when it's down you can rotate it just like this, you see. Now right over here we've got the cap, got our paint in it, flat black. Okay, so what we've done, we've taken a couple of drops of paint, okay, and we've added a little bit of thinner to it just like this, okay, and that will help it flow. And if we bring you nice and close, you can see what we're going to do. Okay, and hopefully you'll be able to get this on the angle. So what we do, we come along, okay, place the brush on just like so, and we're just going to drag it round. Now because it's thin, the capillary action will help to fill in any gaps and things like that, and we can just rotate it all the way round just like so. And you might see it's a little bit patchy, so what you can do then is just slight to the outside, go round again, okay, to the corner, and it will flow all in there once over, just like that, and that gives you your nice clean ring all the way round. And then what we tend to do, pick up from the normal paint, the thicker paint, this top, okay, and we just run him round for the actual tyre, and what will happen is some of it will actually work its way and filter in to the rest of it. So we just take this around like so, all the way over, okay, and that gives you, you can see there, your wheel done just like so, okay, very quickly. Otherwise, if you're using thick paint, you tend to get, you know, obviously it goes over and things like that. Also, if it's thin, if it does go over onto obviously the painted area in the middle, because it's thin, it won't show that heavy. So if you wanted to, a little bit of dry brushing over it's going to do it afterwards, it will probably hide that very fact. But it is one of those jobs, and to be honest, as you can probably see down here, we've got all these wheels here. We've done all of these so far as well. We've got these other ones, we've got the small little tiny wheels as well. So in total I think we've got about 40 tyres to do here all the way through. It is really boring job, but today I haven't found a better way than doing it, because even if you're masking, I know some people will say, well, it's alright, you can mask it up and paint it. Easy way, you can actually buy masks that go on, but if not you can cut discs, put them on an airbrush. By the time you've cut them and stuck them on and worked your way through it, you might as well have just painted them by hand, because it's the same amount of time. But it is one of those jobs, and to be honest I've done this over 2 days now because it is that boring, and after a while you get the sort of shakes in your hand, so it's best to stop, walk away, come back to it afterwards. But in some ways I like to get them out of the way because it is such a boring job, and I know come the end of the model I've got to do all of these. So I'm going to carry on doing all these wheels, and then finally we can get on with some proper construction. Okay, so that's it for this week. Plenty of interesting stuff. Tomorrow, which is the 4th, Saturday the 4th, we are at the Salisbury IPMS model show over in Salisbury. Funnily enough, that's why it's Salisbury. Okay, we will be taking the sanding sticks and everything with us. I've just got to go now whilst this is uploading and go and bag a load. Okay, and then we can get them, but we'll be taking them with us. Also, I will be taking the Phantom. The Phantom's going to come with me from the super build, so you can come and pore over it and dribble and complain and say he's done that wrong and all the rest of it. Okay, so it'd be great to see you there. So please pop along, say hello, say you're enjoying the show, or say you hate it or whatever, but give me great feedback, because we do like to talk to you and everything else. Sometimes I know it's a bit manic around our stand and everything else, but it's nice to have a chat, so please say hello. Until next week, everybody, happy modelling and take care.